Shalom, my name is Matthew. I am 33 years old from New York City. I am an activist and co-founder of the leading US campaign to ban conversion therapy called Born Perfect. And I am a conversion therapy survivor. You know, looking back, it was obvious as early as 3 years old what sexual orientation I leaned towards. But I guess I really figured it out when I was in my middle school years. It was really when I was 13 or 14 years old, I began to experiment with other boys. And even then, I was in denial. I didn't think it was gay. I thought I was just having fun with my friends. When I became a high school student and turned 15 or 16 years old, I realized that my attractions for other boys and men were not changing. And it was in school when I saw the older boys looking at the younger girls. For me, I could only look at the older boys. I did everything I could to hide it. I tried to be popular in school with the other boys. I dated girls, and I basically did my own conversion therapy. Looking back at my life, I've always known that I was gay. I was afraid that if anyone had found out at that time that I was gay or I was having secret relationships with other boys at my school, my life would really be threatened. And when I was 16 years old, I came out to my father. It was this incredible moment of where he told me he loves me no matter what, that he would always support me and be by my side. And I thought it was pretty amazing for me to hear that from my father, and I felt safe. It was literally the following day that my father began to search for a therapist and look for answers. In his search for a therapist, he met a therapist in New York, a licensed professional, who explained to him that there is no such thing as homosexuality. Listening to my father came home to me and told me that I had to try this. It would save my life and give me a chance to live a normal life. I began conversion therapy. I was diagnosed with same-sex attraction. I'm a straight man, they say, with same-sex attractions, making it like as if it's a real disease. What most of the conversion therapy theory today that exists in the US, in Israel, and around the world is that there is no such thing as homosexuality and that childhood trauma is the cause of same-sex attractions. It can be something as subtle as having a distant father or an overbearing mother, or maybe something really severe happened like being abused or molested as a child. But somewhere in these range of things that have happened, you created a void in your psychology where you are seeking other men as a way to fill the traumas that never got healed. And so if I can just, what the theory goes, if I go to therapy and heal the traumas that happened to me as a kid, I would naturally start to feel attracted to the opposite sex, because according to conversion therapists, we are all innately heterosexual. The part that was surprising is I had a really good family. I had really great parents and I had a really good upbringing, and there was no real specific traumas that I ever went through. The therapist diagnosed me as not being close enough to my father, being too close to my mom, having 2 older sisters, and that me being around other females caused this problem for me. I was told that I was not allowed to speak to my mom and 2 sisters, and I had needed to spend as much time as possible with my father, the other male figures in my family, the boys at school, to understand what it is to be a man, to understand masculinity, and to avoid learning female behavior or associating myself with female peers. And I didn't speak to my mom and my sisters for 3 years. I didn't realize how painful that was when it was happening. I really wanted the approval of my father and my community. And so as a 16-year-old in conversion therapy, I gave it my best. I was like the best student a therapist could ask for, which is totally what it should never be. That's not what therapy is about. I really did everything I could to become straight, and I followed every rule that I was given. And for a time it did work. I did become closer to boys and the male figures in my life, and I started to date women. And for me, in the beginning, this was actual evidence, wow, this really, really works. Yet, No matter how much time passed, I knew that I wasn't changing. And as I was going through puberty and my adolescence, I only became more attracted to men. Yes, many times I would find myself attracted to men, and I had all different techniques and tools of how to get rid of those feelings. It was masturbation techniques, how to watch pornography and only focus on women, convincing myself to be with a woman. And these were really, really damaging to a young man because I was really healthy. So as the years went on, I stayed in conversion therapy and my depression grew. I contemplated suicide for about 2 years. I was performing with women sexually, and at some point I stopped because of too much anxiety. And I've probably been to a hospital emergency room 7 or 8 times for panic attacks. And whenever I shared this with my therapist, he sort of dismissed it and made it seem like it was a part of my journey to go through that. Trying to have sex with a woman was like trying to succeed at something that I was not interested in, just so I can go tell my therapist or my father, yeah, I did it. Well, you know, and now will I be loved? Now will I be accepted? And so the only solution that my therapist gave to that was he began to prescribe me Viagra pills. I remember I probably took Viagra maybe 2 or 3 evenings with a woman that I dated at the time. And I remember being in the bathroom while the young woman waited for me in the next room and taking the Viagra, and it felt really painful. Here I am taking a medication so I can achieve at having sex with someone I'm not interested in, just so I can tell someone that it worked. And I thought, I don't know any other 18-year-old men or boys going through what I'm going through. Is it really this difficult? I'm just a kid. I want to fall in love. I want to experience something real for me. And it was the first time I really felt deeply that I was disabled or something was really wrong with me and that maybe I can't be fixed. I struggled a lot with depression. I, at some points, stopped speaking to my father. And, within a few years of conversion therapy, I was estranged from my family and alone, not speaking to my mother or my father nor my sisters. I think because I turned 20 and 21 and became older and more confident, I just began asking more questions. So show me, where are all these men that are now straight? They would introduce me to men who were older than me and married with kids, and here it is. This is what your life could be. And those men explained to me that the attractions never go away. And that what I'm doing in conversion therapy is managing my feelings so I can live a normal life. And I'm basically in treatment for the rest of my life just so I can suppress those feelings. I realized learned that this really is a lie. Every single person said the same thing, that the feelings will not go away. And that gave me, at 21, the confidence to walk away and leave my conversion therapist. I spent the next 2 years trying to heal. It took a lot of trust and courage to actually find a therapist who wasn't a conversion therapist. In 2 years' time, when I turned 23, I came out. And when I turned 24, I began advocating to end conversion therapy in the United States. My mom is really great. She's actually always been supportive of me. And I didn't know. I didn't know because I wasn't allowed to talk to her. There were many moments when I wasn't speaking to my mom during those 3 years where she would tell me, I love you, I know you're gay, I accept you, it's okay. And because I was told that she's the person to blame for why I'm gay, I would throw a tantrum at her, and I gave her hell, and I made my mom's life really difficult. I looked at her as the person destroying my life, and that was a lie. But my mom, if you ask her, she didn't have a chance with me. I was so convinced because I was told how important it is that I have to become straight. But she said something that I really appreciate. She said, I'll never know what it's like for what you went through because I'm a straight woman, is what she would say. Every morning when I wake up, I don't have to question anything. I don't have to think about anything. I'm just me, mom, a woman. But for you, every day, you had to be someone you're not and hide something. And so get out of bed and swallow your truth. As a parent, she would say, I will never understand that. Every day was an act of some kind. My father made it clear, don't worry about your studies. You figure out your life to be straight, you'll be fine. And so when I was in conversion therapy, I was pretty much a straight A student. I did very well in school, and I began to cut school, miss classes, my grades began to drop, and my education really fell when I started conversion therapy. My high school principal actually called my father and my mother in to talk about it because he didn't understand why that was happening. And my father explained to the high school principal that I'm in this therapy to cure my sexual orientation. And my principal tried to convince him out of it. I learned that years later, but there was nothing more that my principal could do. You know, parents can do what they want with their kids. But between my education not working, falling into depression, when I knew that I wasn't changing, the blame was always on me. And that's where the depression starts. I can't fix what they're telling me to fix. You know, I did incredible things that were ludicrous, and whatever those things were not working. And that's really the depression for LGBTQ youth comes in, and where suicide becomes an option. Trying so hard is not good enough. You know, and today in my life as an adult, I'm 33, I'm still triggered by many, many circumstances. I have a boyfriend now, and learning to be in a relationship with another man after I spent 5 years in conversion therapy being told that there's no such thing as love between two men, just mental illness. And I have to break everything I learned as a kid. It really fucks with you. I mean, how do you overcome love when you're told it's mental illness? And I work on it, and I have an amazing boyfriend who's willing to go through that with me. Conversion therapy leaves LGBTQ people with lifelong harm. It's something I'm going to always deal with. I didn't know I would become an activist or how that would happen. There was another LGBT campaign in the US called the It Gets Better Project, and I did a video for that campaign, and my video was about surviving conversion therapy, and that video ended up going viral. I began working with a US organization, a legal organization, to introduce the first law that would ban conversion therapy, and that was in California. And we introduced that law in 2012, and that was the first law to pass. And really, I think, you know, the first law of its kind around the world to make a law that would ban conversion therapy. And we used that law as a model to pass across the United States. It was a little bit slow at first. 2012 was California, 2013 was New Jersey, 2014 was Illinois, and we saw real momentum. One of the biggest hurdles was having survivors come forward and feel confident to share their story. We know there's hundreds of thousands of conversion therapy survivors throughout the United States, but for them to feel safe and come forward was the difficult part. And I was one of the first in this movement, or one of only maybe 2 or 3 other LGBTQ people to do that in the US at the time. By sharing my story, other survivors began to come forward. And we saw conversion therapy as an underground issue become a mainstream issue. And since 2012, 20 states have now passed laws that ban conversion therapy for minors. Over 100 US cities have banned conversion therapy for minors. Ending conversion therapy in the United States has become the fastest moving cause within the LGBT movement. We're passing laws. We are representing survivors of conversion therapy to sue their conversion therapist. We're making sure that these laws stay intact so that they can continue to protect LGBTQ people. We began working with media and making film, whether it's in the news or a feature film in the movie theaters. Our goal is to share stories of conversion therapy survivors, not just here, not back home in the United States, but in Israel and in other countries. LGBTQ people around the world are all going through conversion therapy. There's not a single place that conversion therapy does not happen. And nobody should think that it only happens in a small town. It happens in New York City, it happens in Los Angeles, it happens in Texas. And people should understand that it does happen in Tel Aviv, and it does happen in Yerushalayim. And just because you're in a liberal center doesn't mean it's not there. LGBTQ people are going through the exact same program that I went through. It's going to take a global effort for LGBTQ activists to come together and work on ending these practices. If we can have the world, straight people, understand what it means to be LGBTQ, that really begins to make the biggest shift. And I think that's what conversion therapy is about. Conversion therapy is still that promise that you can change. It's just a mental illness. It doesn't belong in your religion. And we're trying to show, one, the harms that conversion therapy causes, and two, no, LGBTQ kids can, be a part of their family if they want to be. Not everyone has that option. But that's what this movement is about. Protecting LGBTQ people and creating a new future for those families. I'm really proud of the work of everyone on this campaign is doing to end conversion therapy, and I'm a proud supporter of המרכז, למאבק, בהמרה.